Hey, how's it going, guys? Welcome to Dweeb Factory. L.A. and I just got done watching Jessica Jones. We were planning on to binge watch it together, but
things didn't work out.
As much as I think we'd like to, in our old age, just sit down and binge watch stuff, that time is...
It's gone.
It's fleeting.
It's really gone.
But we were watching one of our favorite YouTube shows, which actually inspired us to start our channel. Mm-hmm. Used to be known as AMC Movie Talk, which now is Collider Video. And actually, that's funny. That's how actually me and Ellie connected. And so now every single week, you can see that, a lot of stuff that we do mimic them. But one of our favorite people on there is obviously the host, John Campea.
Hey, John.
Hey, John. Hi.
Hi.
Can I have your number?
Can I have your number? Can I have your number?
My little croissant. And we looked up on Twitter that his reaction to Jessica Jones was quite startling because John loves Daredevil. He loved Agent Carter. He loved Agent Carter.
Yeah, we all love Daredevil though.
Yeah, he's a Toronto Maple Leafs fan. His favorite color is, I just know everything about him, but let's just not be weird about it. I think as much as I love John Campea and the crew is like how much my wife loved like Jonathan Taylor Thomas in middle school.
Mm-hmm. That's fair.
Yeah,
assessment.
I think it's a fair assessment. Mm-hmm. But he writes on his Twitter, "Someone please explain the appeal of Jessica Jones to me, because I just suffered through it in one day, and the boredom nearly killed me."
Ouch. Burn.
Come on.
Burn.
Come on. We all know John likes his fair share of just pooping on stuff sometimes, which is nice, because then we know he's just not a happy-go-lucky guy all the time. But come on. Really?
Really?
Really? So this is going to be me and LA's attempt to go through. He posted also on his Twitter a full description of why he didn't like Jessica Jones.
Consider this an open letter, John.
Yes.
And to all the fans out there, so we're going to do complete spoilers. If you haven't seen Jessica Jones already, go pause this, watch it, and come back. But we are going to spoil the entire show. This is going to be pretty much an attempt to...
This is our Dear John letter.
This is our Dear John letter.
This is our Dear John letter.
On a broader scale, though, we do want everybody to hear us out, think about why we like the show. We'll hear the comments that John made, which some people, critic-wise, have probably had the same thoughts. So
John has very valid comments, and he has 8 that we're going to go through. Mm-hmm. He has very valid comments, but I thought of it more as the challenge. To kind of see like how we could... possibly combat the mighty John Campea and see if we can even, sway him possibly in a different direction in any of these opinions.
Yeah, and maybe if you weren't a fan of Jessica Jones, maybe after watching this, you will become a fan.
Yeah, and guys, before we jump into this, follow us, at Dweeb Factory, but also check out John Campea, Christian Harloff, Denizen, all the great guys at Collider Video on YouTube. Please go follow them, watch their channel.
We have no associate with them whatsoever.
No, so we just we obsess over them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if you want to have us or pay us to do your show, that'd be great too.
Pay us to get your coffee. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. John, he first starts off with the reasons why I didn't like Jessica Jones. And I'll have you take this one. I'll read John's part. No character development. By the end of the season, Jessica Jones is essentially the exact same person as she was at the beginning. Nothing has changed in her. With Game of Thrones characters are generally evolved by the end of each season, they can be changed by the events of the season. Not so much Jessica Jones. Malcolm is the one real exception to that. The show starts with Jessica being hesitant to get involved in hard drinking, but willing to confront her worst fear, Kilgrave, to save from a young girl. The show ends with her at a desk, hesitant to get involved, drinking, and with basically the same outlook on life she had at the start. So, Ellie, we talked about this a little bit before. Mm-hmm. What are evidences you had that she actually did change at the end? What was her character development moments that you felt that were there?
So he is right. She is at the beginning of the show. That is her character from the Max version of Alias of her comic series, her run with Bendis. She is a damaged person, and her character development in the 13 episodes, I feel, happened at certain moments, but at the end of the day, that's just who she is. So although she may attempt or be hesitant to be the hero that she is, at the end of the day, she is this discarded person who tried out the hero business, didn't work so well, and is now put in this position to try to do it. So as far as where I think those character development moments happen in certain areas, one, of course, is Luke Cage. Luke Cage is, for people who aren't familiar with comics or don't know his significance with Jessica Jones, is they are pretty much going to be a couple. It seems that Marvel is going to push in that direction, but they get married. They end up having a child.
They're like the Marvel power couple. Like they're superheroes, and yet they still have a kid together. They fight crime.
Right.
Yeah.
So Luke Cage was a moment for Jessica Jones where she had been in this terrible situation with Kilgrave. She was held for several months, doing the most unspeakable things with Kilgrave. And she finds this one person, Luke Cage, to make her forget all that and open up to a certain degree.
Well, and the thing, so she found love again. And then our other point, too, was, Hope.
Yeah, Hope Schlottman.
But the thing is, though, I think what John's trying to address here, is I kind of read through this again, was that at the end, it seems like all of that kind of went away. Which, my argument to that is, I don't think it did. I think that they didn't change the total essence of her character. But I think that there's still some involvement there. I think if it was the same Jessica Jones, she would have kicked Malcolm out. Right. Not let him pick up the phone and say, hey, alias investigations, so on and so forth.
How can we help?
Yeah, I feel that it's there. I feel that she just has such a hardened shell at the end that you're not going to see it in the last 2 seconds of it. You know what I mean? As John, as you said, you saw the character development as it went on, and you felt like it went away at the very end. I think it's there. I just didn't think they needed to show it to us. I think they just needed to show us, like, it's Jessica Jones again. Just keep going on, and you have to think, too, how many years do you think they're going to do this, LA?
If Iron Fist and everything gets ironed out,
that was good. I liked it.
Thank you, appreciate that. If they actually get all that stuff rolling, I mean, this stuff could run all the way to 2018, 2019, around time in Humans, and all that stuff is coming out around the end of Marvel's movie run.
So I feel like John's judging it for like the last 2 seconds, and because he talks about how he says he saw the character development in here, just didn't see it for the last 2 seconds. I think that's just her. I think they didn't change the attitude of the character. That's kind of that's Jessica's thing. She's a drinker. She's a brawler. If they totally changed that after season 1, the people that fell in love with the cussing, the punching, the leather jacket wearing Jessica Jones, season 2, she's wearing dresses and high heels.
Yeah.
That's changing. That's not character development. That's a character revamp, Right. So I think that the change was there. I just don't think it was in your face.
Yeah, and I think they ended it perfectly because her story is not finished. I mean, just as
but it is going somewhere. She's now going to start helping people. You don't end the season that way with people, like 100 people calling her and her just saying,
I'm not doing it.
Screw it.
Yeah. Although I'm sure it looked that way, but that's not how I feel is going to happen.
I'll get this one if you want to read. If you want to read it.
Yeah. So the second thing he brought to light was Will Simpson, who is taking up the comic book character Nuke, who is Frank Simpson in the comics, but his comics were.
He's got like a big old
American flag
on his face.
Which in the show they used a nod to that with his lighter. The lighter had American flag. Some people didn't catch it, but the lighter he used in the containment unit after he killed the detective had an American lighter. It was American flag on the lighter.
Well, even the pills that he took.
The red, white, blue pills straight out of the comics.
And then on top of that too, like in the comics, is that tattooed on his face, or does he paint that on?
No, it's
tattooed. Okay, good, because to paint that on every day would be, before I kill people. Yeah. Damn it, the star!
I think it was pretty cool too because that actor, I meant to look up his name. That actor really went above and beyond to bring that character to life, even down to the doubling of his words. He was like, I have to do it.
I think he did a good job of switching up the tone of like the transformation of being on pills and not being on pills.
Yeah. So the comments verbatim was the Will Simpson character was a total waste. His usefulness as a character at the beginning was okay, but his sudden turn felt totally out of place and was jarring to each episode he was in thereafter. just didn't care about anything having to do with him. Oh, and he just so happens to be a former super soldier that just so happens to be tied in with the company responsible for Jessica Jones' power. How convenient.
Okay, so this is the hardest one out of the 8 that John laid out that we looked at and was like, okay, this is definitely going to be the hardest fight for us, right?
Yeah.
Because I totally kind of agreed to some extent where he says, yeah, the cop that Kilgrave mind controlled happens to be this guy and have all the significance. But really, if your question to me was, what? Like, how else do you introduce him?
Yeah, how else would you introduce that character? I mean, in the comics, he comes in with Kingpin trying to get rid of Daredevil. He just flies in on a helicopter already with a tattooed American flag face and starts bombing up Hell's Kitchen.
So you could do that, which I feel like
would have been
is
terrible.
Dumb.
Yeah, it would have been awful.
You could have had him be a cop who shows up at one of the crime scenes,
right.
Which I think just as the one cop that showed up at that one crime scene.
Right, yeah.
You know what I mean?
who poked his nose just a little too far. But I mean, I think it was a perfect way to introduce him and to have him tied in with those characters.
I wouldn't say perfect, but I just don't feel like there's any right choice. You know what I mean? I feel like no matter what you do, it's going to seem kind of campy. It's going to seem kind of silly. It's a comic book show, guys.
Yeah.
It's a comic book show.
Yeah, we can't forget that.
Read a comic. What happens when people are introduced? A bomb goes through there. They're in a giant, colorful suit, and it's a one-page picture Jim Lee wrote, and it's just like, aha, the flamingo. Like, it's comics. Like, but I just don't think, even as, like, let's take it apart and just, like, let's say this was Damages or Scandal.
Yeah, or Game of Thrones that he brought up, which I think is an unfair comparison, but...
Game of Thrones is on a different level, but let's throw it into Game of Thrones. How many people in Game of Thrones get introduced and have secret ties to something else later on?
Yeah.
Like, come on. Like, Jon Snow just happens to be a Targaryen. If that, that whole theory is true, but still, that's mildly convenient.
Yeah.
So I guess there's always those kind of convenient points, but I felt like he wasn't, other than the origin part, his character in it was a setup for season 2.
Yeah.
Because really you have to ask yourself, why do we have the need for this secret company? Mm-hmm. NRG? Is that it?
Yeah, NRG.
Why do we have the need for it? Well, it looks like we have to have a need to spawn more superpowered people and to explain Jessica Jones's powers. So it's basically, like you said, you compared it to...
Yeah, so when they were doing this new Spider-Man thing, all the villains were going to come out of Oscorp. So it's fair to see that during Captain America's time asleep, that they tried to recreate that process because it was so successful with Captain America. And Jessica Jones, Nuke, Luke Cage, all these people... Hulk, all these people are, which they said in the movie, they said... Banner tried to recreate your super soldier serum and
Abomination. Yeah, they took the ultimate Hulk kind of storyline with that.
So I mean, they said themselves, I mean, that these are botched experiments of the super soldier serum that are now being, these people are now being affected by that. So I wouldn't be surprised if they went as far as saying the chemicals that affected Daredevil was part of that same botched experiments.
Well, also too, and if I look back, I agreed with John. John was actually the person that convinced me of this when they were talking about The Amazing Spider-Man 2, of them using Oscorp as a perfect device in order to explain Spidey's origin and spin off the others. So really, quintessentially, that's what it is. They're just... And guess what? They did it before Spider-Man did with Captain America.
Yeah.
Because they did Captain America and Hulk. That was out way before any of this. They're just kind of playing off of it. So... come on, John. How else do you explain Jessica got her powers? You want her to, like, go into green goo? She can't be an Inhuman.
Right.
Like, we don't even know. That's another issue, is that we don't even know what's going on with all the studios, the movies, Netflix, and that.
They're all seemingly
ABC TV series,
seemingly separate but all together.
And even if you notice this season, you notice it said ABC Studios and Marvel Studios and Netflix Studios, like a big giant line this big in the intro of Jessica Jones.
I didn't even realize that.
Yeah, it was big. I saw that was interesting. But yeah, how else do you do it? So she can't be Inhuman, can't fall in green goo, she can't be a mutant. So what else do you got? Struck by lightning. She's a Thor's daughter. Like, what else is he gonna do?
Yeah.
So I feel like that's the hardest point to defend. It's kind of like you're damned if you do, if you're damned if you don't. Mm-hmm. I don't really see a better way of being able to implement that and not have someone tear it apart.
Yeah, because I mean, so Luke Cage, which I'm sure they'll get into in his own show, but Luke Cage is a botched version of the super soldier serum. Will Simpson is a botched. So it's reasonable to think that Jessica Jones is just another person who was just in the wrong place at the wrong time that was part of this botched super soldier serum. Because
the only other alternative you have is all of these events are random. And all these random people got random powers at a random time.
Yeah, and that's not very good for a cohesive story.
No, even Heroes kind of replicates that a bit of how everyone's connected in some way, which way or form. And well, I guess in Heroes version is everyone's freaking related, you know.
Right, yeah.
Everyone's a Butcherelli. Ending argument is, there's nothing else you could really do and implement it that well without someone tearing apart that origin.
Right.
Number 3 is Kilgrave. John Reed's Kilgrave, while totally charming and played great by David Tennant, which David Tennant's awesome.
Yeah, he did a great job.
Go see all of his Neil Blomkamp movies. Mm-hmm. Really, really good. Was a very docile villain. I was never afraid of him. That's because John Campea is never afraid of nothing. He had scary powers, but himself was never scary. His motivations were also convoluted. The show wants us to buy that he wants Jessica back, but initially does things he knows would not attract Jessica to him. It made no logical sense. There was nothing really at stake. He just was a selfish jerk. The whole MacGuffin and motivation for the show was to save this girl from jail, a girl that never really made us care about in the first place. Okay, so I want to break this down a little bit more. Let me ask you this. So his first argument is here that he had scary powers, but he was never scary. What's your rebuttal to that?
So, true, his powers are scary. I think the way they introduced his powers, as far as a form of mind control, was very interesting in the fact that it's not like hypnotism. So it's not like you're just like under he says like a magic word or something like that, and you or you have to look at him or something like that.
He can't even control it. That was the cool part about it.
Right. That, and which they showed where he was like,
I told this guy to go F himself.
Yeah.
Can you imagine what happened?
Yeah. So it's like he says in the show, he's like he has to painstakingly think about what he says before he says it. And that's an interesting way of doing mind control, where even the person who has this power is not really in total control of that power. So it's basically pheromones, or as they explained in the show, a virus is let out to the air, and the longer you're exposed to that virus, the more grip or control he would have over you over a period of time. So I think that power is true, it's scary, and I think.
But what about him? Like,
so because
I thought he was scary.
I thought he was scary too. I mean, our first introduction to him is him going into a house and then telling the kids to go in the closet and pee on themselves. And I mean, the scene where Jessica Jones is at the dinner table with him at her renovated house, and she makes a scene, and then the cook and the other lady come out put knives to their necks. I mean, he's a scary individual. I mean.
So, because what do you quantify as scary? Because I can't really pick any Marvel villain ever being scary.
Yeah, he's in my opinion, I thought he was more of like a Hannibal Lecter style scary, where the things that he says is more scary than the things that he does. And when he does it, it's terrifying. Yeah,
because an assassin could grab your arm and put a knife through your eye.
Right.
How about he makes you do it?
Exactly.
And you're compelled for so many hours. That was the other thing too. It wasn't like Loki's staff where he touches you in the chest and
right.
You're oogly boogly. I think that the reason why he was so scary was because he thought he was doing the right thing.
Yeah.
Like, he thought that, first of all, he was if he was like a true villain and went all out, right? Was all out, he'd be on Avengers levels, like
real quick.
Yeah, he'd be leading Hydra or something, you know what I mean? If he really did have this power, you'd be up on that level. But it's kind of the catch-22. It's the people that are the craziest are usually the most powerful. Hulk, He's kind of the craziest, but yet he's the most powerful. I think that, and they can't do it. You can't make the most level-headed people the strongest people because then they're a little too OP.
Yeah, it's like giving Joker Superman powers or some craziness like that.
They did that though. I have that comic. It's called Imperial Joker. Super nerd time.
Yeah.
But yeah, they can't do that. So they have to kind of level his craziness out with this. So he thought recreating her house would get her back.
Right.
Like, he legitimately thought that. We look at that as viewers and say, that is creepy as hell.
Right.
That is not the way you get a girl back.
No. In his eyes, that was extremely romantic. I took a magnifying glass.
Yeah.
You know
And,
what
like,
I'm saying?
looked at the CDs on your desk.
Yeah. And that, to him, was a romantic gesture. He says it. I mean, he says...
Yeah, that's what roses and chocolate.
Right, exactly. That, I mean, to him, I mean, you gotta look at his origin in this show is his parents left him after he threw a tantrum at like 6 years old. So
Didn't he tell his mom to pick up the iron and put it on her face?
Right.
I was 6.
Yeah.
I just got pissed.
Yeah.
Like, he's just like, yeah.
Yeah, so this kid has no idea the inherent right from wrong speeches that parents would give you. So he's been on his own since 6 years old. The last image of...
And Jessica points that out. He's messed up because of the parenting or lack thereof.
Right.
So he literally is a person... is so messed up that I think he longs for normacy. I don't think he wants world domination.
He doesn't. He really doesn't. He's a guy who has no social skills. He has zero social skills, and he's a douche. At the end of the day, he's a douche. He cares nothing about ruling the world or like some stereotypical villain. All he wants people to do normal things around him, but he needs it to be.
But also think about this. This kind of occurred to me. Why do people want to rule the world? Because they want to live in a big fancy house, have tons of money and servants.
Right. Which you can just say and do.
Or like world domination. Okay. What does he care what's happening outside of his house if he can dominate everyone within a 200-foot radius of him? He basically does rule his own world.
Yeah.
And what does it matter if if he conquers all the oil fields or has everyone like building monuments in his he kind of quintessentially does rule his small scale of the world.
Yeah.
So for me, if I had those powers, I don't think I'd seek anything beyond that. So John, I guess our argument against him not being scary is I think he was very scary. And I think that he did do things that he literally thought was going to attract Jessica towards him. He thought he was doing the right things in order to do that.
Yeah, like the hero moment that Jessica tries to put him through where she makes him save.
Now, do you think that was fake? He was like, man, I saved 2 kids. I
think he genuinely had a moment of, I guess, clarity. It was like, I did something good. And he was like, is this what it feels like? He was like, is that what you feel like all the time? And he genuinely had that moment of like, oh, this is why you do things. That's interesting to me because he looked at it like a case study, and he told her, he was like, I legitimately thought I was doing the right thing when I told that man to blow his head off. He was like, nobody's gonna miss him. He was a bad person.
Yeah.
And he was like, bad people should just be taken off the face of the earth, kind of like a Punisher. Well, Punisher has different motivations, but the same
family was murdered.
Right.
I'm pretty sure I saw that movie a couple times.
But the same rule applies where like he feels like he's doing the right thing, and John Campea himself has said numerous times on his show and other shows that
the scariest villains are the villains who think they're doing the right thing.
Right.
So
I mean, the essence of the character is the same. It never got changed.
Even the comic book. You pointed out to me the comic book version of Purple Man. That's the true essence of.
Yeah,
that's the true essence of him. He's a fancy purple-faced dude who looks like he, is 1950 French guy with little.
He's always wearing a purple suit and stuff like that. He could care less. He cares less about what everybody else is doing. He gives two shits about everything. As long as he's getting the stuff that he wants and desires, that's all he cares.
Caviar, women, booze, party.
Exactly.
So that they get, and he is a little messed up though. He is a little weird in the comics. So they kept the true essence of the character, and I feel that. Yeah, I didn't like the fact that he just obsessed Jessica the whole time, but it came to a realization for me of why he is the way he is when it showed the tapes and his parents and everything like that. So then we're going to move on to number 4. Number 4, speaking of Kilgrave, John says, over the span of the last chunk of the season, they made a fairly big deal out of the fact he was trying to increase his powers. However, even when they did increase them, we never saw it. I just want to stop. No, okay. Earlier in the season, we already saw him mind control an entire restaurant of people. So controlling the group in front of the boat is the final episode was really an escalation in his power. The big reveal of his power was just seeking some dark veins popping a bit in his head, and as he yelled, "So what?"
So I think this is
This is easy to tear apart.
Yeah. So
we didn't get you on the powers thing on the nuke guy. Get ready. We'll send you a bottle of aspirin for this next one.
Yeah, so all this is wrong. So
wrong, John.
Yeah,
John, we love you.
So there's several...
Stop typing this nonsense.
There's several moments where he clearly shows that he increased his power level. So there's one where he's in the containment space, and she says, his power doesn't work through a mic.
Or he'd be able to control them over a microphone.
Exactly.
And what does he do later on in the episode in the hospital, L.A.?
He calls the nurse and tells her to speak to Jessica Jones.
Through a
phone.
To me, that is an increase of powers.
Right, exactly.
If I'm not able to shoot a goal from the blue line, and then I shoot a goal from the blue line, I believe that's an increase in my power.
Yeah.
Hockey reference, John. I know you like it.
So the other moment is Luke Cage's hold. We all knew 12 hours was the limit.
Yeah, like I was watching my clock, which was not correct. I said for like 12 hours.
Yeah.
That's when Luke is good to go.
Right, so I mean...
20 minutes later, it's been 12 hours, damn it.
I had no idea. So obviously his power rate increased. We don't find out that till later. And then the hospital scene...
Yeah, he said we all knew Luke was still controlled. And I was like, no.
Did you have an insider... We know you have a bunch of insiders, but do you have an insider view on this? Because
John's like, the actor tweeted me while he was filming it.
I had no idea that he was still on.
Kevin Feige. Guys, remember the interview we did on AMC Movie Talk? We had Kevin Feige, and well, now he let I have a Kevin Feige red phone near my desk. And
the hospital scene. The hospital scene is the biggest show of his increased power.
That was scary. Just floods of doctors and nurses going down.
Patients and everything.
And they weren't like zombies either. They were smart. Like the chick was like...
Yeah, like looking at it. I like how she had nose surgery and she busted her nose again. I had like a funny... that was funny to me. I don't know why. Because like she had the thing on her nose and like the first thing she does is bust her nose.
That's like kicking a pirate's wooden leg out from under her. Like chopping it off.
And then she was in the room with the old lady, and the old lady throws like her bedpan and cup out.
Oh, I know. Actually, that kind of made me painful. I was like, oh gosh, lady, stop. You're going to break a hip or something. You're just going to see her like deteriorate.
Yeah. And
osteoporosis.
They show the door close and you hear the punching sounds and stuff like that. And you just got to think Jessica Jones punched that old lady.
Jessica Jones, old lady puncher. That's another thing, John. She didn't punch an old lady at the end of the episode or at the end of the season. So that's character development right there. She developed her need to punch old ladies.
The concert where he was testing out his range.
Yeah.
So when he says the restaurant, at the time, only thing that he had to do was be in their presence and speak. So he yelled loudly enough for the entire restaurant to hear, which was a small cafe.
And it was only people in view too. We don't know, like the bus boys in the back weren't, we're still playing mariachi music in the back, blaring. We don't know if, it was like really an immediate, what did you think? Probably about like 30 people?
Yeah, it wasn't a large group of people.
It wasn't like a Luby's or Golden Corral or anything.
Right. Yeah, so I think playing the way he did at the concert over loud music and stuff like that showed an increase in his power. And as far as the vein thing, I, being the comic book nerd that I am, thought it was very cool because his skin was turning purple. Like the veins were turning purple as it was creasing through his skin. And I thought... I knew they weren't going to do it, but in the back of my head, I was like, the next scene, I was like,
I even thought his bruises, like the makeup artist did a really good job because his bruises were purple.
Purple, yeah.
Yeah, and just like, how do we make the purple man purple but not purple?
Yeah.
Just beat the shit out of him and make his ass purple.
Yeah, but the scene at the end where he yelled and you could see him trying to, like, give it all he has and his skin goes almost full purple, I thought was just
and then also
an amazing nod of way of doing that.
And then also, he said no one believed Jessica was really turned.
Yeah, I mean, so
can you really believe
I wavered. I wavered personally when I watched it.
I had a slight suspension of disbelief, which is another vocabulary phrase that I learned from John Campea. Seriously, guys, watch Collider video. I learned so many things. that there was a slight suspension of disbelief. Like I kind of literally thought that for a moment there that he did have control over her, because that smile, it was just like not such a Jessica Jones thing to do. I didn't even know her face could bend that way.
Right.
It just like was a huge smile, and I'm like, oh, and then I was just like, no, never mind. No, never mind. It's an actress.
I mean, even while they were performing the scene, David Tennant, he was like, I'm not believing this act. He was like, it can't be. Like, even he didn't believe that he had control over her. But
he just had the need, like
he wanted it so bad.
Didn't he say, "I'll just play along with it"?
Right? Yeah, it was like, he wanted it so bad. That's what he really wanted.
Like, I'm gonna get my nuts ripped off anyways. So
yeah,
you might as well just kind of see how this thing plays out.
Right.
What do we have next? Number 5. You want to read that?
Yeah. So,
Mr. John.
Yeah. So he goes into saying that no one significant dies, and I have a real issue with this. So no one significant dies. All the major characters, Jessica, Luke, Trish, Malcolm, Jerry, Will, hell, even Pam, all survive, with only secondary characters at best, like Hope and Ruben, suffering fatal consequences. And the season went on, you just knew as the season went on, you just knew no one significant was going to bite it. Thus, less and less felt at stake. And this brings me back to your MacGuffin moment where you were talking about Hope, like no one really cared. But that was the whole driving. So every time that you would forget what Jessica was doing it for, you would get Hope. Hope would get thrown back into the mix. And even the Purple Man was like, is this really what you care about?
I felt that way too about Hope. I went back and forth between caring and not caring. I significantly cared about her before when she went to jail. I think.
Yeah, when that scene in the elevator was crazy.
Yeah.
Like I don't think anybody thought that was going to happen, that she was going to pull out a pistol and just murder her parents.
But once she was already in jail, I kind of already considered her dead.
I did too.
But then when she got out, it kind of made it worth it for me. I was like, well, as a viewer, I'm like, I should have kept hope. Like, I should have been more hopeful.
Should have kept hope alive.
Because if I was as cynical as I was, I'm very analytical. I'd be like, she's dead.
I think.
But I did lose interest in her when she was in jail because she wasn't there. Maybe if there was like a jail scene with her, more than just one time.
There was that one scene where she got beat to shit.
That was kind of stupid. It's just like this chick on top of a bunk bed, just was like
elbows, throwing the people's elbows.
Like, come on, let's get some ladies in the come on, Orange is the New Black. Let's get them in a shower and just like maybe that would have made me feel for her, but. I did. When I saw the actress, I did feel that. So when she did die, and how she died, she stabbed herself in the neck. Mm-hmm. So Jessica would wake the hell up and say, go kill this guy.
Yeah. I honestly, I feel like Hope's character was really the emotion of what Jessica Jones was trying to hold on to. So I feel like Hope was more of a way into Jessica Jones than Hope, just that person.
And also past, kind of like how Jessica felt in the past, I guess.
Right. So it was, they even say it when they had that scene, was like, can you jump really high? Because he made me jump for hours and hours. Because essentially he was trying to replace Jessica, even with the fact that he knew he couldn't. And he just kept making her, do things that Jessica could do.
And that's evil. Come on, John. We're talking about earlier argument is that like he's not evil.
Yeah.
Like he made some guy abandon his child on the side of the road, right? Mm-hmm. And chauffeur him around for months.
Yeah, that's.
He let some chick cello play a cello. Like, I'm sorry, what's the most Loki ever did? He invaded New York with an alien army.
Right.
Really evil. Like, okay, that's pretty evil, but
the characters he brings up as well, like Jessica, Luke, Trish, Malcolm, Jerry, Will, all these people are prevalent to other series that are coming out for the Netflix shows. So
Luke Cage
is having his own show. Trish is going to be most likely going to be a Hellcat in some regard, whether she's going to put on an outfit or not. She's going to embody that role of that character in some form.
She's going to be a super sidekick with the talk show.
Malcolm is going to most likely be a emotional drive for Jessica to keep her on the straight and narrow path as the assistant. Jerry Hogarth is tied to Iron Fist. Will Simpson is definitely going to be used. I honestly think they might actually use Kingpin might actually reach out to Will Simpson with those pills to try to take out Daredevil, like in Frank Miller's version.
Yeah.
So there's that plot line that can open up. So I mean,
Never a bad choice to follow Frank Miller storylines.
Yeah. So I mean, all these people that he's complaining that didn't bite it. I mean, all of those people are significant to the story. So in Daredevil, I'm assuming he might be.
And I guess
Ben Urich dies, who's a very, very important character in the book, but is not somebody who's necessary for the story or for stories ahead. Like Ben Urich is not a character who's necessary for these stories. The only thing he did was he's a reporter who writes the stories for superheroes or about superheroes more prevalent Daredevil than anybody else. He wasn't somebody that was needed through like all these spans of movies like these other characters are.
Because then what do? You introduce more characters. You kill off more characters. Like, you can't kill these characters off. Like, they set them up not to die, and I guess that's a faulty in the writing, but they, do you want them to pull a switcheroo and like build you up? Like, I guess, John, you really want this to be like Game of Thrones, where they build it, they get you like fall in love with a character, like a character for the half season, and then murder them, and that's fine. That's
not how it works.
But then that's just such a complex writing style. I believe that some people can either hate or love. Like, if I have to watch a show and I just don't like. Anyone could die at any possible time. My heart can't take that stress.
That's Walking Dead. We already have that show.
Yeah, and then after a time, though, it just becomes, I think if enough people did it, it just would become, like, who would care? Like, who would care to watch a show week to week if there's like, oh, my favorite character died? Well, great. I didn't know. Like, Walking Dead, I stopped watching because I didn't get to watch a show on the DVR before I'd click it up and everyone's like, Glenn died! I'm like, son of a...
He's alive, by the way.
Yeah, I know, but still, it's just like, both can seem cheesy to me.
Yeah.
Both can seem cheesy.
And
killing everybody and not killing people. I feel like it needs to be a healthy balance of both.
Yeah, and let's not forget, this is a comic book property, so death is not always a permanent thing.
No, and I don't care about comic book death.
Yeah, like Coulson is back. I mean, no, people who die don't never really die.
White Canary and the Arrow TV show.
So I mean, all these things,
and they're introducing Iron Fist. Like, don't tell me they can't resurrect people with something they have going on.
Bring back the Purple Man again. I mean, all these things are possible in the comic book realm. So deaths don't really mean much of anything anyway. 6.
If Marvel's not going to bring back. If they're going to bring back Coulson, the whole point of their first Avengers movie, you don't think they'll bring somebody back, like, just for the hell of it for their Netflix show?
Yeah.
Their next one. So what number are we on?
6. Over the mother character, which he says, quote, the mother character was a waste of screen time. We get it. Trish's mom was a bad mom. Continuously throwing her on screen did nothing to advance that or take us into any other directions. So this point I highly disagree on as well. As far as
this one can be quick.
Yeah, so Trish's mother.
I'll let you do this one.
Yeah, Trish's mother introduces the NRG, which we find out is part of the reason that Jessica Jones has her powers, as well as some of the other characters, which I'm sure we'll find out in later seasons. The flashbacks, which were not very long, in the time that Jessica meets the mother, is only like a quick, maybe 3 or 4 minute scene, which is her telling her to stay away from Trish. And then the rest are flashbacks, which only last a minute and a half or so. But those were necessary, so you get to see why these two people are friends. And
exactly, you don't tell people that I'm getting beaten by my mom, and I don't tell people you have superpowers.
Exactly. So I mean, you get to find out.
Because I asked myself that question. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No,
I asked myself that question forever. Like, first of all, when she first showed up, Jessica showed up on her doorstep. I'm like. I was like, Jessica, is this like her ex-lover or something? Like, what's going on? Don't tell me you didn't get that feel. Like, she shows up at her apartment, like, give me money, I'm going to leave. But what was their relationship? You know what I mean? Like, they seem like best friends, or like, but how are they best friends when they're total opposites? And like, in one scene, it answered it. And the mom needed to be there to answer it versus some girl just coming in like, oh, my mom scratched me. Like, there kind of has to be some background to it.
Yeah, and it made sense because
it builds her character too.
Yeah, it made sense because they were going to use Ms. Marvel, but that got taken away from them because Ms. Marvel is now going to be part of the MCU movie collection. So with Ms. Marvel out of the picture, they had to bring in somebody to balance out that role, which Hellcat was a good choice because as they decided having 2 super-powered people at the same time, with the exception of Luke Cage, of course, but them two as best friends, didn't make a whole lot of sense in hindsight 2020. So
because why would they be friends together? You know what I mean? This makes sense. You have someone who wants to be a superhero,
right?
Someone who is but doesn't want to be, and those kind of play off each other a little bit.
So it actually turned out really well. And the mother, I don't think will be used really again. If they go into a second season with the mother trying to rekindle the relationship, I don't foresee that happening. I think she was just used to introduce NRG. Used for the flashbacks to find out what the relationship between.
She'll be the Eagles in Lord of the Rings. She'll be the convenient plot device in which things come to fruition. You know what I mean? So
let's go ahead and move on to the next one.
Number 7, the show is completely predictable. No,
I didn't predict half of the show.
Yeah. That doesn't make us dumb, John. We're just not as smart as you.
Yeah.
Okay. There was some things that were, and there's some things that weren't.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing ever caught you by surprise.
There is one thing that caught me by surprise, and I need somebody to answer it for me. The hospital scene, Jessica Jones is on the phone from the nurse gave her, and then she hooks it to a doorknob, and then she's on her cell phone. Explain that to me. I don't know how that works.
Oh, well, actually, voice over IP phone systems in which she could forward that to her phone.
Seamlessly?
You could put it on mute and forward it, yeah.
Can you?
Yeah.
Well, I just learned it because it bugged the crap out of me. I was like, how did she just do that? Her phone did everything, though. Her phone was like her sidekick. It had like a police scanner app and...
Police scanner. Yeah, I Googled that. I was like, police scanner app. I want to be a vigilante.
It had literally everything that she did. That phone was like another character.
Where'd you get the police scanner app? Some black guy with an iPad showed up and gave it to me.
So weird.
It looked like the guy from Pulp Fiction. The baby caught me by surprise.
Yeah, her being.
And then them using the baby, which I'm glad they didn't show the fetus.
Oh god, that would have been terrible.
Didn't you? I thought it was gonna happen. I thought they were gonna show like a purple fetus. Didn't you? Like it looked like in a jam, like jar of jelly jam. Like I actually thought fucking little.
I actually thought they weren't gonna use it until like way later. Like they weren't actually going to
like an illegitimate child, like an arrow, just pop out, like a purple midget, just pop out like.
Like that would be like the new because I figured
the new purple kid.
Yeah, that's
make me a sandwich.
My mind went far into like future Marvel shows. No. Like this is going to be the actual Purple Man. So we have Kilgrave.
Yeah,
they were going to have like a Purple Man as this like
later on.
Yeah, this
I guess so.
Which could have worked.
I knew cloning. That's the first thing because they said the baby was dead though.
Yeah, they basically used him as like superpower juice.
And the lawyer, that lawyer was so cynical the whole time. We never brought her up, but she was crazy as hell too.
Yeah,
she wanted that coochie so bad.
Yeah, the Matrix never looked so good.
No, she did. Trinity looked amazing, but she wanted her secretary so bad. She was willing to still compromise with a guy who mind controls people.
Yeah, and I think
they took the baby, made it powerful, and so that part was surprising for me, John. So if you saw her being pregnant, then kudos to you.
Right.
And then when you knew Luke Cage was under his control, we already said that. Yeah. No, there's no way you knew that because
I didn't know.
We didn't know that we knew that he was trying to increase his powers, but we didn't know what that entailed. Was that range of time? Was that range of how far the virus spread? We didn't really know all those details, so I don't think you could have really hit that on the nose.
Yeah, because we don't find out about the length of time expansion until after Luke Cage is gone past the normal time. Normal time was just 12 hours.
When Jessica was actually under Kilgrave's control, we addressed that earlier, and when Jessica was going to when Kilgrave was going to kill his parents, etc., etc. Mm-hmm. No, we knew that when those people went in there, those old people were dead. We knew that.
Yeah, I mean, we knew. Yeah, obviously, Kilgrave was going to kill his parents. I mean, that was part.
That's like Bambi getting the hunter inside the same room together. Like Bambi's gonna kill that hunter.
Right. With who's in cuteness.
Yeah.
I mean, that was obvious. Did you know that the father was gonna wake up with no arms? Because I didn't see that happening.
Nope.
When he woke up, he was like,
yeah,
he's more powerful. I was like, oh, damn, what just happened? But yeah, I didn't see.
Did you know when Jessica Jones was tripping balls and saw the white horse?
Yeah, I didn't get that. I didn't get that either.
I just like, there's a fucking white horse in New York.
I was like, what is going on?
And then I was like, I'm tripping out right now.
But they made it. I thought it was kind of cool that they kind of took you in the mind of what it's like to be controlled by him, and they made it seem like it was just this weird, like acid trip that you're having. While because you're conscious the whole time, so like if he asks you a question, you're gonna answer it honestly.
I feel like
it's weird.
I feel it's kind of like anesthesia awareness. So anesthesia awareness is when you're having surgery and people are like fucking with your insides here.
Yeah.
And you can't do anything about it. You can't scream. You can't move. You can't do nothing. I feel like that's kind of the sense that I got from it.
Yeah, because when he asked people, like when he asked his dad, like about what will happen if you give him the whole lot, and he says there's 40% chance it'll kill you. 40% chance that it will make you more powerful. 60% chance will kill you. He was like, "What do you think, Dad?" And he was like, "I hope it kills you." Like with no hesitation.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's so weird to have that power where you, even though you're controlling other people, they're still in their right frame of mind. They just have they can't help but to do what you say.
So and then right before we get to the last point, let's go through it real quickly, John, just in case you didn't get it before. He'll probably never watch this.
Probably never see that.
Number one, it was character development, which our argument was there was plenty of character development. How that character development was shown to you in the last moments, just wasn't blaring in your face. But we thought with Malcolm being there answering the phone, her, the phone calls coming in.
She's allowing help.
I even think the lighting in the room at the time, if you look at the frames, it was during the daytime, in the morning. I feel like that's a visual perspective versus the show starting off at night.
Yeah, I did catch that. That's good. That's good.
And more times, you notice as the series went on, there was more and more scenes that took place during the day.
Yeah.
I felt that was a visual representation of kind of the character doing that. Number two, the Will Simpson character. What was our argument on that?
As far as like him being a total waste, which I don't think so at all. I mean, it set up the new character. He's definitely going to be used again for sure. I have no doubt in my mind that they're going to use that character again, especially since they introduced the red, blue, and white pills. And because he threw the pills out, the window.
Yeah.
And
they're gonna pop up.
Yeah, he's gonna come back.
How else do you introduce a comic book character, though? Really, that's kind of the thing, though. Is no matter how you do it, you're gonna depict it. As much as that, this is the weakest argument that we have. That how else are you gonna do it? But they do. I think its biggest explanation is it gives a reason to connect the company to this, and the company is the biggest part. We're related to Oscorp, and you have to explain how Jessica got her powers.
Right.
Next one is Kilgrave. We're talking about more or less Kilgrave the character.
Yeah.
And if you look at Jessica Jones' character, what were the other Jessica Jones villains we found?
There was like Bobby Tisdale and like
who's a voyeuristic shapeshifter, which basically is a pervert who can turn into other things. I'm going to turn to that chair she's sitting on.
Right.
You can't have another shapeshifter in a show. People are tired of shapeshifting. I'm tired of shapeshifting.
X-Men's already got that covered.
Like, they've beat it into us so much. And so every single time, like, even if the Inhumans had a shapeshifter, I'd be like, I've seen this beat.
Lash is the Doctor, which I hate. I hated that.
Yeah, I hated that too.
I hated that so much. That's another video for another day.
But it's just beat after beat, so they can't do that. What was the other one? Chemistro,
which is the stupidest.
He's a chemical gun. He is a chemical gun.
Dumbest thing ever.
So, there you go. So, he was scary, and he was his powers were scary, and he was scary. Like, I'm sorry, it would completely scare the living bejeebus out of me if I'm just in this room with this man and I cannot compel. He can compel anybody and everyone around me, and he had no remorse for anything that he did. Yeah, he wasn't doing it to be evil. He just did it because he was morally not guided to know what was right and wrong. Like, evil, I feel, is when someone stabs you and they know what they're doing.
Right.
That's evil and malicious. Mm-hmm. Scary as hell to me is when they stab you and they think
did you a favor.
Yeah, they think they did you a favor. You didn't need those fucking legs.
Yeah.
Like,
those lungs don't need to work.
Yeah, that's scary. And I felt, John, you said the scariest villains are the villains who think they're doing the right thing. We saw with him saving those children that his moral compass was all over the place, and he actually thought he was doing the right thing, especially getting a creepy house. So, note to yourself, if you're trying to pick up Kari, don't have a replica of her house.
Thank you.
Yeah, just I think we learned from that. We learned from our mistakes.
We do.
The increased powers, we saw, obviously, that he did. Hospital, concert. No one significant dies. Well, we thought you can't kill these characters because they all lead into other things, and maybe that's a writing plot, but we felt that there was some significant deaths and hope, and on top of that, comic book character deaths don't really matter, so why do we need them? Trisha's mom, she's a convenient plot device. And she really wasn't in that much. Okay, you want to show me useless characters? I'll show you a bunch of freaking useless characters in Daredevil and in Agent Carter. There's plenty of them.
Yeah.
Story being predictable. Nope. Baby.
You got Luke Cage being controlled longer than the hour. The baby being used to juice his power level up. Killing his parents was obvious, but I mean, I didn't know his dad was going to wake up.
Okay, did you know that she was going to that girl was going to shoot her parents in the elevator?
Yeah,
come on, dude. No one saw that. No one saw that coming. You thought what we all thought is going to be the case of the week, like Arrow does.
Yeah.
And she's going to pick up another girl getting raped next week. That's what I thought.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. Was going to eventually lead to Kilgrave.
And then the last one here is you can go ahead and read this, and I'll be quick on this. You have a little more of an opinion on this, but go ahead and read it for us.
Yeah, it was a terrible waste of a fantastic premise. So it was a terrible waste of a fantastic premise. The notion of superpowered girl living in isolation and fear due to a holistic violation of her personhood, both mentally, physically, and sexually, is extraordinary. However, a premise is just a premise. The execution of the story fizzled for me, being John. Never really delving beyond a totally surface level of those issues. Even the scenes where Jessica confronts Kilgrave on the issues of rape could have been incredibly emotionally powerful, but it felt to me like it was handled with kitty gloves in a sanitary environment. Basically, that defines Jessica Jones to me. Great concept and ideas, poor execution.
So let's first tackle it. The first issue that he has. He says the premise is great, but it's poorly executed. And the example that he gives is let's talk about the overall emotion. Okay, so the basic. What is your outlook on the core essentials? Another word John uses. What is your outlook on the core essentials of Jessica Jones? What makes Jessica Jones Jessica Jones?
So Jessica Jones is a emotionally detached alcoholic person who happens to be super strong and can sort of fly, or as she calls, guided falling. So that being the character that she is, her discussing something as heavy-handed as rape, she is not going to be the type of character who's going to talk about it, then fall into a corner and cry like it's a Lifetime movie. Exactly.
So the emotional gravitas of it, I guess what John's looking for here is to have this big opening scene where she's like bawling and she talks about descriptively of his hands going up her thighs and da-da-da-da-da-da. She has never done that. She's never done it with anything else in the series, so why would it change? And I felt that she did open herself a little bit emotionally here.
Right, as much as she would want. She doesn't want to give him the satisfaction of her, and her feelings.
Oh, he'd get off on that. He'd be sitting there like, wait, say that again to me? Yeah. Like, the parts that I want to see her emotionally break open is with Luke. That's the only times I want to see it.
Yeah, which she did, technically. I mean, that scene where
in her own way.
In her own way, yeah.
And that's the thing. She found the love of her life. Was she glooping all over him?
Right.
And if she did, then that would be a huge departure of the character I just watched 20 minutes ago.
Yeah, I mean, you have this person who killed his wife. I mean, she was under the guise of Kilgrave at the time, but she did kill him. Found out or knew about it, had sex with him.
Which that's still continuously. That's a discussion for another time. I just thought of that. He said, I didn't tell you to kill her. I said you take care of her, and you punched her on your own.
Right.
Theories, but anyways, keep going.
So that being said, I mean, even after she knew what she did and knew how she was connected to Luke Cage, she continued to have a relationship with him, and that just goes to show how emotionally damaged she really is. I mean,
but yet still really guarded.
Yeah, extremely. She allowed herself to be open up to this person who she devastated, but they acted, to be quite honest, slightly selfish. And she knew it, and she opened up in certain moments of the show, but she wasn't going to give that that emotion to Kilgrave though.
I also think too they have to make her very tomboyish.
Yeah.
For guys to watch. There's no exact math of demographics of who watches Marvel movies and shows of guys versus women. I guarantee you the number one viewership for this show and Daredevil is the same people that watch every other major show out there like this. It's males between the ages of 17 to 30. And you're not going to get males from the ages of 17 to 30 to watch a show of a woman who opens up and cries all the time. Guess what they did is they did that with her friend. That's who they made the bumbling,
that was like her
crying friend,
conduit, so to speak.
Exactly.
Yeah.
She was upset for her at times. So, right. John, I believe that, and even the emotion, the continents of, yes, I would have liked them to talk about the issue of rape, but this is not the forum or the platform to go deep into it. I felt like if they had, then they would be pushing, the writers would be like, I feel like we need to talk about this. They're pushing their own ideas and their agendas through their characters, which quintessentially sometimes that's what writing is. Look at Superman denouncing himself from being an American. Don't tell me that was an extension of that individual writer's point of view. Right. DC did not ask for that. Gay and lesbian characters inside comics. DC might ask for that, but at the same time, those are extensions of what the writer feels. So yeah, it does happen in writing, but when it blares at me in the face, when I know this is not just helping the story, it's just the writer being pissed off and writing about a subject he feels it needs to be written and dressing it up with superheroes, I felt like that's what this could have been if it was this emotional blowout. And then emotional gravitas, she is supposed to be the hard character. Right. And everyone's emotional around her. Did you get that feeling? Yeah,
for sure. I mean, she'd much rather have a bottle of whiskey than tell you her story.
What do you want her to stop drinking? You stop drinking.
Yeah. That's like saying telling Tony Stark to stop drinking, leaving in the bottle.
Or me to stop drinking.
You can't fly a mechanical suit like that, obviously. But yeah, I mean, and then that fight or that opening discussion between Kilgrave and her about rape. Kilgrave's mind, again, this goes to the fact that his moral compass is he has none. He, in his mind, thought
he literally had no one ever tell him no about anything.
Exactly.
So is it really what is rape to him? He doesn't know when people are being serious and not being serious.
I made love to you, Jessica. He's like, and you enjoyed it. He really felt like he made.
Because all he has to say is, "Do you like this?"
Yeah.
And she could be like, "No," and he'd be like, "Do you like it now? Say that you like it." Yeah. And then guess what? Now she fucking likes it. So. Yeah. Imagine your life if every single woman you walked up to, John, I know this probably happened to you, that you said, bend over and grab your ankles, and they said, yes, please, editor-in-chief of AMC Movie Talk, I will take it for you. I know that probably happened. The rest of us, though, imagine if you were that person, nothing's rape.
Yeah.
Right? And then for Jessica, it is the most horrific thing that's ever happened in your life.
Right.
And if you go emotionally overboard of it and give this sicko the satisfaction he wants of seeing you in pain, which we saw previously of I'm going to reject her and deny her time and time again to see the pain in her eyes, we know that's what he gets off on. She knows that's what he gets off on, so then negates the fact for emotional gravitas.
Right.
And I felt like there was huge emotional gravitas with Will Simpson, Trish. I felt there was tons. I emotionally felt for her after she got attacked.
Yeah.
The guy's on her door and he's like, hello, I just want to say I'm sorry. I'm like, fuck that guy! Send spikes to the goddamn door! I emotionally attached to her because I recently I've had my car broken into, I've had my house broken into. I know how violating that feels. To have a cop show up at your doorstep and beat you to death, that might happen to you before it happens to me.
It happened to me before.
But how violating
another video for another day.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Milky Lives Matter.
Yeah. Oh God.
I'll edit that out.
But at the end of the day, I felt like the premise is fantastic, and the execution, although may not have been perfect, was delivered pretty well. I felt like the show overall was really good. I would give it at least I would give it an 8.5 out of 10.
7.
7 out of 10? I stick with 8.5. Solid 8.5. strong.
The first half of the season, I'd give a 7, and I'd give the later half of like a 6.5. Now, John, and we do this out of love, and we know you'd probably come out with a 5-minute video and tear us apart. We just want to be noticed by you like the ugly girl in the back of the class. But the show wasn't perfect, but I enjoyed it. It wasn't Daredevil. Daredevil came out and he kicked you right in the goddamn teeth. You know what I mean? Like,
literally.
With that opening scene where they did the single shot when he goes and saves the boy through the hallway. Like,
oh man, that was.
I show that one scene to everyone, and they binge watch the whole series.
Yeah, that scene was amazing.
And we can't expect Jessica to be that way. Jessica needs to be a psychological thriller, and we can't expect everything Marvel does to be an amazing hit. And I felt like this was a good attempt. I felt like it did well. I'm excited to see now more Defender stuff. I can't really say I'm really excited to see Jessica Jones season 2, maybe. Well, actually, you know what? Now I kind of am because the whole company thing.
Yeah.
But I'm excited to see more Defender stuff. So, John, to answer your question, why are people so, raving over Jessica Jones? You got to suffer through it? Well, please go back, take our notes, watch it again. And if you still feel the same way, when we come out to California, we'll buy you dinner.
Well, he'll buy you dinner.
I'll buy you dinner.
He'll buy you dinner.
I'll buy you dinner.
I'll be part of the buying.
Yeah. So, and guys, thank you so much for all the other viewers that are not John Campea
for watching.
For watching and going along with our boring journey.
Yeah.
But thank you guys so much. Please let us know what you guys thought of Jessica Jones below. If you guys liked any of our arguments or you have any arguments of your own, you guys can find me on Twitter at THAZAK. Dang, I keep messing it up.
He doesn't know his own Twitter name. I do, though.
Wait. No. I was cutting it so I can edit it.
Okay, sorry. Serious.
Hey, guys, please comment below. Please let us know what you guys thought of our Jessica Jones series. You guys can follow me on Twitter at TheMadZak. That's THAMADZAK. I got it this time. I got it. Yours is complicated as hell, though.
Mine is just long, but it's easy to type. It is at LA_IZ_GFC. Yes, it is long, but you can find me on Twitter and Instagram. Please leave your notes and comments about anything that we discuss.
Watch our other Dweeb Factory videos. We have everything you know about Star Wars Episode 7, which we'll be doing again here real soon with Redbeard Crew. So excited for Star Wars. We have so many videos out on it. LA and Charlotte do an amazing news segment. Watch it. Thank you guys so much.
Thank
Bye.
you guys again. Bye. Oh shit, it's fucking cold.
How long did we do that for?
I have no idea. I think 30 minutes.
Yeah, about. That was really good, though.
I liked it.
Like, I'll edit some stuff out and I'll shorten it down a bit, but
Yeah.
I liked it.